What up, what up, what up? It's your boy, Cardinal Red, and you're watching Ali Land Boxing Talk. Now let's get it.
Floyd Mayweather, who fights Andre Berto on Saturday night, took an intravenous injection that was banned under anti-doping agency guidelines on the eve of his fight with Manny Pacquiao in May, according to a report. SB Nation said Mayweather's medical team told collection agents that IV of saline and vitamins was given to Mayweather for rehydration purposes following the weigh-in. Although the substances were not banned by USADA, the fact that they were given intravenously was not allowed. According to the report, such injections and infusions are banned because they can be used to dilute or mask the presence of another substance. Mayweather was not available for comment Wednesday night.
Stephen A. Smith, this story really makes me wonder about what your man Floyd Mayweather Jr. has been up to. Because we all know that Floyd Mayweather Jr. has been out front for the sport of boxing, trying to clean it up in the fight against steroids. And now I'm starting to wonder if all that was just an act. A lot of bluster, a lot of sleight of hand, deflection of blame, because maybe he was trying to deflect any scrutiny off himself, Floyd Mayweather Jr. And it seems extra hypocritical today because I remind you, as you well know, that Floyd and members of his camp publicly accused my man, Manny Pacquiao, of PED use, and my man Manny was so offended, he took them to court, and he won. And I also remind you that my man Manny, the night of that fight in Las Vegas, May the 2nd, was denied the ability to take a pain-killing injection in his torn rotator cuff because he had not submitted the day before the proper paperwork.
You know, this is the problem I have with the whole ASAD argument in boxing. Ever since this argument came to the table, it seems like more and more of these things are starting to happen. Along with the fact that the ASAD gets most of the money, gets to pick the venues, the referees, the judges, they also get to pick who the agency is doing the drug testing. And it seems to me that if you're paying a company X amount of dollars, they would be willing to say and do whatever the person who's paying them is asking of them. You know, ever since this whole ASAD argument came up, these are the type of things that are starting to ruin the sport of boxing. I just don't get it.
So meanwhile, that day before, right after the weigh-in in Las Vegas, what happened? According to this report by Thomas Hauser and SB Nation, Floyd Mayweather Jr. went straight home and took an IV that is against the rules unless you're granted an exemption. By the way, that exemption was not granted by the U.S. anti-doping agency for 18 more days. They did it in hindsight. In retrospect, they said, oh, well, we're going to say it's okay 18 days after the fight. And it wasn't until 20 days after the fight that the U.S. anti-doping agency thought it might be a pretty good idea to inform the Nevada Athletic Commission that Floyd got this exemption for therapeutic use, this IV. Let me tell you what this IV reportedly had. It had 750 milliliters of whatever solution. It was saline and vitamins, doesn't matter what it was, saline solution. 750 milliliters went into Floyd's body, according to this report. The World Anti-Doping Agency that Molly referred to, the one I hang my hat on, the Olympic Testing Agency, says that the cutoff is 50 milliliters. Floyd went to 750 milliliters when only 50 are allowed under Olympic-style testing. Why? As Molly pointed out, because if you put 750 milliliters in your body, which according to the average weight of an average male would be about 16% of your blood system, You can mask whatever's in there.
Fool me once, shame on me. See, the problem is Floyd Mayweather fooled us 49 times before. But see, when you get away with something so easy so many times, you start to get a little sloppy. And this time, it seems he forgot to actually file for the exemption in the proper timing. And it's hard to fool someone once they know your trick. The power of the magician is no one actually knows what the trick is.
You can cover it up going into a big fight against Manny Pacquiao. It doesn't prove anything, but it smells to highest heaven. And this whole idea of Floyd saying that he's been Olympic tested, this story just shoots holes all through that, because the U.S. anti-doping agency is just this independent arm that operates in this country that you can pay to come and test you for your event. So its integrity has been challenged here. Its credibility is being challenged here because Floyd will call upon the U.S. anti-doping agency to come and test him closer and closer to fights because he's gotten smarter and smarter. Floyd doesn't announce his fights until very close to fight time. Andre Berto, we know, is tomorrow night, September 12th. That fight didn't get announced until August the 4th. So in 4 or 5 weeks, that's all the testing that the U.S. anti-doping agency is able to do. So what happened between the Manny fight and all the way up to August the 4th? Floyd could be doing anything. Olympic testing is 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Floyd has never been subjected to that kind of testing.
You know, when you call yourself the best, or TBE, it's usually because you've beaten the best in their prime. It's a different case for Floyd Mayweather. Yes, he's fought all the best names, but it wasn't in their prime. And now, he's not even fighting boxers. You know, it would be hard for Michael Jordan to call himself the best if he was beating baseball players in basketball. No, Floyd Mayweather's not the worst fighter, but he's not the best either. He just figured out the game of making money. And now, he can't run his game anymore. Everyone knows, not that Floyd's a cheater, but he's learned the way of winning by deception.
And let me also add, before I hand off to you, Stephen A. Smith, I know this writer, Thomas Hauser. He is a dean of boxing writers. He's now 69 years of age. He wrote the definitive biography of Muhammad Ali that was published in 1991. You could say that he's favorable to Ali, and you could read, I'm going to be objective here, you could read into it that maybe he has an axe to grind against Floyd because Floyd has been so publicly hard on Muhammad Ali. I don't know that. I don't believe that. I just know that Thomas Hauser has been around a long time. He's plugged in boxing circles. He shares some of his other previous reporting about Floyd's whatever. I'm not even going to go into that because I'm going to stay right on this story right here, right now. It raises all kinds of red flags.
I won't say Floyd Mayweather is blacklisted from the sport of boxing, but I will say the cat is out of the bag. And what I mean is, Floyd Mayweather is already a social pariah within the sport of boxing, meaning no one wants to work with him. Everyone knows he commands too much money and he wants to make all the rules. You know, when you think about it, Floyd Mayweather ousted himself from the sport of boxing. Now that everyone knows how he masked his steroid use, no fighter wants to work with him unless he submits to the highest form of drug testing. And since he wants all the rules in his favor, most of the money, and he only fights in Las Vegas, no promoter wants to work with him. Yeah, Floyd Mayweather retired from boxing, but not making money.
Again, it proves nothing except it just comes across as so outrageously hypocritical after the way that Floyd has treated Manny Pacquiao.
It makes Vegas look bad because one guy is asking for something and doesn't get it, and another guy asks for something retroactively and does get it. And you want to know, as Hauser's article pointed out, you want to know, can they just make the categorical statement? Can they say definitively, we use the CIR test on the samples where his testosterone to epitestosterone ratio was under what it should have been? Now, that doesn't just could be that he overtrained or whatever. That could be. But it is a red flag, so people want to know, look, did you do the CIR test, yes or no? And if so, what was the result? And then as long as they just make that public, but not just like we do all the CIR, no, on those fights where he's testosterone to epitestosterone level was low, did you do the CIR test, yes or no, and what were the results?
You know, there's been all kind of rumors surrounding Floyd Mayweather and his use of steroids, not only to be a better performing athlete, but also for the problems he's had with his hands. At this point, I don't think it's about boxing anymore for Floyd Mayweather. It's not about legacies. It has nothing to do with the fans or the sport. No, at this point, it's all about money. Money and lots of money. If you can trick a person into giving you their money, well, you got them forever.
But what the fans don't get a chance to see, the aches and pains and things that an athlete of his caliber has to go through. You know, he's working harder now at 38 than he actually did when he was 20. You know, because his attitude is that he wants to continue to be the best. And in order to be the best, he's been blessed with all these God-gifted skills. When you're operating at this level, you know, we've worked hard to get in this position to be able to put ourselves in a position where we understand what the intel is all about. You know, and you're coming into our city. All I can really comment on that is USADA is the gold standard when it comes to drug testing. These are just opportunities, and I'll just touch on this. This is just a malicious opportunity that some irresponsible journalists are taking an opportunity to attempt to tarnish Floyd's legacy. But the way they were trying to paint this perception was that USADA showed up at Floyd's house to the dope house. And the dope is laying on the table, and they caught him red-handed.
Yo, it's your boy Cardinal Red, and you're watching Ali Land Boxing Talk. Why Floyd Mayweather won't fight boxers. Hit that like and subscribe button. Check out the description box for all your boxing needs. We out of here.